Hello, I am here to bring you a review of Do You Like Big Girls, aka Uki Ononoko wa Suki Desu Ka by Goro Aizumi, a literary classic. And this narrative tells the tale of Sota, who is a university student who is not particularly good at anything. He's pretty small of stature, not really athletic, doesn't get good grades, and doesn't have anything in particular that especially makes him stand out. He has a solid relationship with his sister, who's an athlete. She plays volleyball. She's pretty tall, so she stands out everywhere she goes, and the two are pretty close. So sister asks Sota to help support the girls' volleyball team. She sees that he doesn't really have much going on and asks if he'd be willing to help out just by, doing basic stuff like maybe team laundry, helping them gather items. He decides that he'll take her up on the offer and begins to be the team gopher, right? So journey continues, and as Sota enters one of the practices, he runs into a girl that he's recognized all the way back from his youth, a girl named Aya, who he pretty much fell in love with the moment that he saw her. And after the two reunite, after some light teasing by his sister, she says that the two should go on a date, Sota and Aya. Aya laughs a bit and agrees, and Sota is completely taken aback by this, but he's basically thinking, how can I pass up this opportunity? And he decides to go too. So the two go out, they take a walk, they have a lovely dinner, and at the end of the night, my man puts in some work. Sota gives Aya the business, and this immediately caught me off guard because in most novels or stories or even doujin type things, right, you normally have this gap and this sort of playfulness when it comes to like two adult characters, where Japan likes to do that thing where like, oh, well, they get together, oh, we can't do this is too intimate, and Mr. Aizume here decides that we're not going to be wasting any time. I'm going to let my man get his immediately. We're not going to play around with any of that other stuff. I'm going to let my man do what he needs to do. Big time respect for that. So this begins our story, right? So after Sota handles business with Miss Aya, word gets back around the team because, girls talk like boys do too. Like everybody, like once something happens, people get into their crowd, especially when you're talking about young girls like this on their team. Word gets around and they decide, you know what? I want to kind of get a little piece of what's going on over here too. So thus begins the harem of our homie Sota, and I peep the wordplay on Shota. I see what they did there because my man's small in size. I see what you did there, Mr. Aizume. And the whole team basically going after this man because he's irresistible, right? So enjoyers of athletic girls are pretty much going to be in heaven with this read. If you've ever had crushes on like volleyball women or like Olympic sports and you've thought very highly of women in athletics and like that's something that you admire, this has got what you're looking for, right? Like shapes and sizes, tall, muscular, all that kind of thing. But one thing that I will say that separates this, besides the directness of the artwork and the content occurring within the novel, the story actually it's not deep, but I appreciated how real some of the characters felt. The interactions that you see between the girls, not so much I want to say with Sota and the girls, because I think that the idea of them just all being so okay and upfront with passing this dude around is very much male fantasy territory. We're not exactly going for stark realism there, but what I did enjoy was how the girls interact with each other, just from personal experience and just also experience of talking with people that have been on teams, both male and female sports. I think that Goro Aizume really got those interactions down. The girls are playful, kind of like raunchy and rude to one another. There's like a lot of adult and over sexualized humor, which is something that's going to be very real when you're dealing with a bunch of like young adults who are like stuck together with the same sex and aren't really into the same sex kind of thing, or maybe they are, even like that can kind of up the tension as well. But I believe that he did a great job of really kind of making the character and their interactions with one another feel real and believable, even if their interactions and how they treat Mr. Sota aren't exactly the most realistic thing in the world. But you really gotta appreciate the variety of the different characters that he has in here. There's definitely some goofy situations, but even some of the character arcs that he has in here. We have some of the girls that are struggling with being seen as too manly or masculine to appeal to the opposite sex, right? So you have that whole thing, which is interesting. You know, I think that it's very much cultural based, but from what I've heard and things I looked up in regards to Japan, women that are considered overly muscular or quote unquote too fit can sometimes be seen as like unattractive partners and things like that. So you have some of the girls wrestling with these kind of issues. A girl in there who acts a fool purposely in order for her to come across as non-threatening so that people won't be afraid to interact with her, and it can kind of get her attention, because if she were to be herself and kind of tone it down, she's afraid that she would be considered unapproachable and weird due to bullying she experienced from being taller than other kids when she was younger. So things like that, right? Stuff that you're not expecting to see in your ecchi manga, but there's actually some story happening over here. Again, it's very much like average dude dropped into this athletic women's dorm room, what's going to happen next type deal. But there were definitely a couple things that made me laugh, and there's some Alabama moments between Mr. Sota and his sister, not full Alabama, but Alabama adjacent, if you know what I'm saying, if you're catching my drift. So it seems like that's going to be a story point as this thing progresses. But I just really appreciated, one, the premise, because I think athletic women are great, man. I think that it's awesome when you have a woman that's involved with sports, takes care of herself. It's a personal attracting thing to me. I don't know how everybody else feels, so people's mileage are going to vary. And also, if you're just looking for some light, cute character interactions, this you could do worse, right? This isn't going to be breaking down any doors, read of the year, anything like that, but it gets the job done with what it's made for, and I appreciate what Mr. Izume was going for. He's certainly a man of culture, and I would go out with him for a beer one day. We definitely agree on a few things. So that being said, I'm going to let you guys get out of here. Appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you next time.